opinions expressed in the following paid program are those of the host, callers, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of this station, its management, or owners. Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice in making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement. You're live and local, St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Aaron Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services, financial planner and wealth manager, and I'm joined this week and every single week by my dad, Jeff Lapidus, wealth manager and retirement coach, and my husband, Robert Markham, our life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist.
Good morning.
Good morning, babe.
Good morning. We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan with several goals in mind.
First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate.
Second is to provide an income stream they can rely on so they can do all the things they want in retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their health care needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to couple with their Medicare coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, without Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron, Rob, and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Good morning, kiddies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Another great day in the neighborhood. Wonderful day. It's Saturday.
It's
2
warm.
hours of fun.
No rain?
No rain. We like that.
No football yet either.
No football yet either.
Bummer.
67 more days till the preseason. Saw that last night.
Life will be good. And again, just so folks remember, we are live and local. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone lines are open, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the KTRS text line. And little housekeeping. If you'd like to keep in touch with Aaron, Rob, and I during the week, it's easy to do.
That's right. Log on to our website, jblfinancial.com. You can click on the Contact Us button and request a coaching session, financial, Medicare, or both. It's also an opportunity if you have a question. Please feel free to ask, and we'll try to get back to you within 24 hours. You can also click on the pop-up boxes that appear that say sign up for our monthly newsletter. We call it the Coach's Corner, and Rob keeps it up to date every single month, and now we are in the very first Saturday of June.
Yeah, we really beat the brakes off the May 2026 newsletter because there were 5 weeks in the month, so we're on to June 2026. We got some great articles in the newsletter for your perusal. First one being high prices force buyers to stretch out car loans. The average monthly payment in the fourth quarter of 2025 was $767 for a new car, $537 for a used one. Yeah.
It's pricey.
Exactly. A growing number of car buyers are taking out loans with longer repayment schedules, sometimes 6 or 7 years. Now, that may help the payment be more affordable, but it also means paying more in interest over the life of the loan. For example, a 5-year, $40,000 car loan at 6.5% interest would have a monthly payment of almost $800 a month, and you would pay $7,000 in interest over the life of the loan. You could, under the same terms, if you stretch the same loan out for 7 years rather than 5, you could bring that payment down to $600 a month, but that would incur almost $10,000 in finance charges. So these prices are forcing people to really stretch these loans out, and the average fleet the average fleet vehicle on U.S. roads today is 14 and a half years old, and I don't feel so bad about driving a 2010 Mazda anymore after reading that. And after reading about $767 payments every month, I certainly don't want to be involved with that right now. So,
well, it is interesting is that, cars you were thinking in the old days, okay?
The old days. How many days old is that?
A little older than you, sweetie.
Okay.
Is that we thought about average, maximum life for a car was like 100,000 miles. Well, now they're really building them to go 200,000 miles.
Well, they're a lot lighter now, right? The materials and things like that. So does that help with?
Well, I don't know about the lightness, but I know that the quality of the materials is a little bit different. And obviously, they've gone. It's funny because I remember they used to say you're supposed to change your oil like every 3,000 miles. Now it's like every 10,000 miles. So the engines are better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
so,
I think the synthetic oils that they use are better for the engine as well.
Okay, I'll buy into all that, but $50,000 for the average price of a new car is incredible.
Yeah. That is quite expensive.
Paying almost $550 for a used car
a month. Yeah,
that's.
Yeah, it's interesting because there really is a premium on used cars, and I would say that when they're talking about like sort of the average is like half the price of a new one.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that's probably a car that has 5+ years in terms of age.
Sure.
And also something probably has medium to higher mileage. I know that when I traded my lease car in,
mm-hmm.
About a year or so ago, I got a premium.
Right, because you had low miles?
Well, no. I mean, I had normal miles, but the thing is that the demand for the cars was really high, and it was much over. For me, it was something like 20% over the residual value that they estimated. So
I think this is something that has kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit since COVID, because I remember used car prices really shot up at that point too, maybe towards the beginning of the Biden administration. So, 5+ years ago, we were seeing pretty, like you said, premiums on used cars, which just puts pressure on the entire market because, why buy a brand new car for over $50,000 unless it's exactly what you want? And then taking a look at the used market might be a better option, which just forces those prices up.
I think the chip bottleneck that we saw in the beginning part of the Biden administration
was a big deal.
Was leading to a lot of the used car because you couldn't get the chips into the cars quick enough. So it was expanding the price of all the cars.
That's right. They had even stopped some cars from being produced because of that, right?
Remember when we were looking at the Ford Raptor?
Ford Raptor, that's right. They weren't even making them.
Exactly, and that was one of their biggest sellers.
Yeah.
Oh, our next article, Locked Out, How to Break Into Today's Housing Market. High prices, elevated interest rates, and limited supply and inventory are all conspiring to make the housing market one of the most challenging ones for first-time home buyers ever. Conditions like these are forcing buyers to be more plan-oriented than they were in the past. And this article lays out some great things that you can do, starting off with a financial checkup. You want to check that credit score. Having good credit could save you thousands in interest over the life of the loan. Everything that we were talking about vis-a-vis car loans certainly applies here. When you're buying a house, you want to automate those savings so portion of your paycheck goes right towards that kitty to save for that down payment. We want to examine the budget to make sure that any items in that budget that aren't being utilized are being repurposed towards saving for that down payment. We want to check tax returns for possible places we can save some money, birthday gifts. Want to let relatives know that, hey, look, I'm trying. No, really. You want to let them know that this is a goal that I have in mind, and any help that you can give in this regard would go a long way.
That's a good point. Also, for the children of our clients, that's a great tip to pass along from mom and dad to them.
And Robert, I was going to say, I thought it was interesting, as also part of this article with the infographic, gave some information about first-time home buyers and their down payment percentage. And I thought it was interesting here is that only 10% is the down payment for most first-time home buyers. It was a high since 1989. That, in my mind, is the issue, because when I was a younger man purchasing my first home with your mom, it was 30%. And I would certainly suggest to you that, the inclination for all new home buyers, and anybody's listening to me knows this is true, you never think you can afford the first home. You try to squeeze into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens is you don't take into, consideration maintenance costs.
Right.
Which can be very expensive. And I would certainly say that if you want to help yourself, having a larger down payment does a couple things. Number one is it eliminates, if you have less than 20%, you talk about PMI.
Right.
So that's an extra 0.5 to 1% that you're paying of interest for no reason. When it's time, when you really have a significant financial stake in this 30%, then you're really in a position where you can probably afford the payments. When you're really trying to leverage, that's where you get in trouble.
Speaking of the infographic, one of the things that stood out to me was the age of the first-time home buyer is now 40 years old, and the median home price is little over $400,000. So using the 20% down, that would be $80,000.
Right.
That's
just pretty substantial to save for your first, which is, I think, one of the reasons why people are having difficulty breaking into the housing market, because those starter homes that used to be more affordable in terms of a 20% down payment are really starting to become a little out of reach for people when you consider down, home cost plus interest rates doubling over the last, from 10 years ago.
That would be a big help if we could get the interest rates to come back down to what they, maybe not to what they
not zero.
Not zero, but something that people could live with, maybe something.
And I hear all of our listeners saying from their first home that they purchased, they bought it during the Carter administration, and they paid 16%, 18%.
Patience is a virtue.
I would just say that, Dad, what was the cost of the first home you purchased with Mom?
$58,500. We didn't think we could afford it at the time.
And Rob just did the math on what the average down payment on a new home would be right now.
Most people's starter homes aren't $400,000. That's the median prices of homes. I mean, most people's starter homes are probably in the 200, 250 area. 2-3 bedrooms.
So 200.
They're not talking about. You're talking about 2,000 square feet, something like that. Not in Clayton, like where you live.
Excuse me, we live in U City. But anyway.
Well, you know what I mean. Most folks, the true starter home is something that's usually smaller. It's probably under.
But even when we use that scale, $200,000, that's a $40,000 down payment. So you would have already paid 90% of your house.
There's no shame in renting. That's what I would say, number one. Number two is the appreciation of home values is not at the same rate as it was 20, 25 years ago. We were looking at 3-5%, and people really thought of their homes as a store of value that they could actually use and unlock later in life. That's not where we're at anymore. That's not the reality we're at least in this current time period. So therefore, why rush it?
It's a good point.
It's an excellent point.
And you're also bypassing the maintenance costs and all the stuff that you don't know about.
So I would say that math only works. When we hear about this frequently, the decision to purchase a home or stay as a renter, I think that math only works is if you are truly dedicated to putting the excess savings aside. Because the idea is that you're not incurring the maintenance costs, you're not incurring, the insurance nor the property taxes. So actually putting more money aside, either in preparation to purchase a home, and maybe that's never a goal for you. That's a different decision, but truly being dedicated to taking the path of I'm going to rent longer to eventually purchase, you need to do the second step, which is save the excess.
And frankly, you may be able to get something better because we know that home prices don't always go straight up. We've had housing busts before, and it's not unreasonable to assume that could happen sometime in the future. Maybe your timing becomes good.
And this is a situation where relatives could certainly play a pretty big role because rather than you paying rent, maybe there's a spare bedroom in the basement. Where,
yeah,
no, I mean,
it's a good point.
You're down there, and now rather than paying rent and trying to save, you're just on a save glide path. And relatives can be a big because who else is going to but you live in their house rent-free, but someone you're related to.
That's a good point. What's our next article?
Our next article is a great one for anyone that has a blank spot when it comes to value investing. And simply put, value investing is analyzing the underlying value of a company in relations to its share price, and only buy shares in companies that are considered undervalued. That's what value investing is, simply put. Although I will say properly evaluating a company requires substantial work, expertise, and examining metrics such as earnings per share, earnings price to earnings ratios, as well as sales growth, return on equity, company operations, market position, etc. There are professionals that do this for mutual funds, where if you don't want to put in all that work, which is understandable, a lot of these professionally run mutual funds can give you exposure to the value side of the market. But as all things, you want to make sure that any changes you make to your portfolio are in line with your risk tolerance, time horizon, and of course, financial goals.
I would say that, when we talk about value investing, usually the number one person comes to my mind is a Warren Buffett. He's pretty well known for
looking for companies that are undervalued.
Exactly.
And what's interesting is that we know that company can be considered a value when it's selling at a discount.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously it's a growth stock if it's selling at a premium, and you can have the same stock change places.
That's right.
In your portfolio. I mean, as an example, well, we won't use a specific stock, but we know that
mature tech companies sometimes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And buying those tech stocks when they were younger,
mm-hmm.
and then became growth stocks. Well, guess what? Now they went from value to growth.
Or growth back to value.
And then also, most value stocks are also generally dividend oriented,
mm-hmm.
and therefore, so you're looking at also utility stocks, oil and gas, REITs,
sure.
things like that.
On a long enough timeline, a lot of growth stocks will become value stocks. It's almost inevitable.
Once they mature.
Yeah. I mean, you can't grow at 20, 30, 40, 50% forever. I mean, you can keep it going for a while, sometimes even a decade or more.
Sure.
But eventually.
And I think go ahead, Ted.
I would just say, look at what just happened Friday.
That was quite a rotation we experienced.
Well, that's right. So the question is, did those growth stocks become value? Are they now undervalued compared to et cetera? So, there's a lot of, I don't want to say personal, but I guess it is. I mean, it's just really
nuance.
The way you're looking at the situation.
And I think that leads back to what Rob said, that there are professionals that work at mutual fund companies that are doing this analysis, but we often think of each mutual fund as being siloed away and they're making their own decisions in a vacuum, but really usually have a team of people, and they're making decisions not in conjunction with other funds inside that same family, but there is cross-research and reference. So you could see there are many companies that are held inside of mutual funds that have different investment objectives because the analysts are looking at the position from different perspectives. So although there are analysts there to build that for you, ensuring that you're not creating any duplication is also important.
Oh, it's not many people might want to engage on that level because there's a lot to know to
Certainly.
Even come up with the idea that a company could be undervalued. So
Sure.
If you don't want to do all that homework, you can outsource it to trained professionals who will do that homework for you. And our last article, mid-year checkup. Can you contribute more to your retirement plan? It's hard to believe, but half the year is already in the books. Now is as good a time as any to make sure your retirement savings is on track. 401ks, 403bs, and 457 plans are more generous in how they allow you to save. Maybe we turn the temperature up on your savings beyond the employer match. If you're over 50, you have those catch-up contributions you can always make. So now is as good a time as any to keep a good eye on your retirement savings to make sure they are on track. And that is your June 2026 newsletter. And as a reminder, we keep the last 12 to 18 months archived for your reading or downloading pleasure. And if you'd like to sign up and be the first to receive it, by all means, drop me an email, robert@jblfinancial.com. I will put you on the list and make sure that when a new newsletter drops, you are the first to get it.
Just back really quickly to the last article of the mid-year checkup, there were some great changes over the last year to contributions, contribution limits, in that they created that super catch-up for individuals that are age 60 to 63 that lets you contribute even more if you participate in a 401k plan. So these are definitely things you want to look at if you've been kind of set it and forget it with your contributions over the years.
Absolutely. You never stock enough money away.
Well, again, pre-tax savings is really the most efficient and effective way for you to invest money. Again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Just as a reminder, all of our clients are just like you. They're our listeners. They're 55 and older. They would like to retire, or they're already retired. And as Aaron mentioned, our goal is to create a game plan for them so they can have a fun, really fun, financially secure retirement.
That's right. So should we take our first break of the hour? And when we get back, we already have several text questions on deck.
Let's do it. So don't touch the dial. We're halfway done with hour number 1 of Straight Talk on Retirement. We'll be right back.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
You're selling your home, and I want to buy it. This is Mike Robinson with Robank Properties, and I am ready to pay top dollar for your home. No contingencies, no inspections, no monkey business. I buy your home no matter the condition or location, and you walk away with cash. Call me, Mike Robinson, at 314-283-0867, 314-283-0867, or at robankproperties.com. That's ROBANG properties.com.
Are you helping to take care of a senior-aged parents living at home? How many times are you getting a phone call to help them navigate daily tasks, from shopping online to running errands, doctor's appointments? It can be exhausting, and it can be frustrating for everyone. You need to check out Senior Concierge. It's a subscription-style membership dedicated to helping St. Louis area seniors stay connected and confident while living at home. It's as easy as an app, and it's just $79 a month. They'll get access to all the personal concierge support that can assist you with a wide range of needs, from dinner reservations to concerts, sports tickets, home maintenance, groceries, housekeeping, rides to and from the doctors, and so much more. Senior Concierge, convenient, confidence, and connection begins here. Become a member today. Learn more at seniorcstl.com. That's seniorcstl.com, or call 314-270-7800 or seniorcstl.com.
Meet me at the Muni in Forest Park.
Muni tickets for 2026 are on sale now, featuring Hairspray, Shrek the Musical, South Pacific, Disney's Newsies, Ain't Too Proud, The Life and Times of the Temptations, Meet Me in St. Louis, and Something Rotten. Choose your seats now at muni.org.
Meet me at the Muni in Forest Park.
Hi, it's Julie Buck to tell you about a trusted family business that I've been working with for years, Easter Fence and Deck. Chuck Easter and his family have been the go-to fence and deck company in the St. Louis area for more than 70 years. And when it comes to sunrooms, Easter Fence and Deck offers the top-of-the-line Better Living sunrooms that are absolutely spectacular. When it comes to fences, decks, and sunrooms, I would invite you to do what my family has done for years and trust the family-owned Easter Fence and Deck online at easterfence.com.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Welcome back to the show. It's 9:29 here on the Big 550 KTRS, halfway through hour number 1. Phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877. And quickly filling up, we have lots of room. KTRS text line.
And our first texter writes, "Hi, I'm 57 and struggling with deciding on moving on from my flexible savings account to a health savings account at work. In a nutshell, how does an HSA work, especially once I retire and go on Medicare? Can I still contribute to an HSA privately?"
So this is a great opportunity because with your flexible savings account, it's a use it or lose it every year. You either spend the money that you put in or you don't. If you don't spend that money, you don't get to roll it over. With an HSA, so with the health savings account, the money that you put in is always yours. So it will roll from year to year. It's what's called portable. So that means if you make a contribution this year but you don't happen to spend all of that money, it will stay inside of the HSA. You can only contribute to an HSA when you are part of a plan that is HSA compatible. So right now, while you're with your employer, it sounds like you've selected a plan that is HSA compatible. You can make contributions and then, of course, take money for medical expenses whenever you'd like. When you join Medicare, you will no longer be eligible to contribute to the HSA, but you can use the HSA not only for all of the medical expenses you were prior, but then the whole world opens up to you to pay premiums. So you can pay your Medicare premium with it. You can pay your long-term care premiums with it. You can pay supplemental premiums with it. You can pay Medicare Part D premiums with it. So any premium medically related then will be available for you to use those HSA dollars for. So really, in our minds, if you have the opportunity to use an HSA, it's one you should take advantage of. You get that pre-tax contribution when you put the money in. It grows tax deferred, and as long as you pull it out for medical expenses that are considered qualified through the IRS, you don't pay taxes. So it's the only triple tax advantaged vehicle in the tax code right now. So I would say, as opposed to being confined to the FSA where you've got to make those decisions every year or you're putting just in enough that you know what you're taking out, this will give you a chance to maybe build a little bit of tax-free dollars as long as you use them appropriately for medical expenses.
Sounds like a medical IRA.
You know what? That is another term that they use from time to time is a medical IRA because the assets are going to pass the same way. So this is something that you're going to have a beneficiary on. Your spouse or your children could also inherit it.
Right,
and they get it tax free also, don't they?
If they use it for medical expenses.
And one shouldn't be worried about having money trapped in an HSA because if you need to say you don't have qualified medical expenses, if you just take the money, it just becomes income at that point.
Well, it's also a good point too, is that at least you get to keep it. Whereas with the FSA, with the flexible spending account, you are getting the tax break the year that you put the money in to take the money out, but you don't get to build anything over time. So worst case scenario, you're right, is you just pay taxes on what you put in.
Would be no different if it was in a regular IRA.
Right, but the final advantage is everyone will have medical expenses in retirement because you can just pay your premium. You could just pay your Medicare premium with it if you decided.
Well, you're getting reimbursed for it, right?
Right. Your Part B. You're right. You have to pay your Medicare Part B premium through a deduction of your Social Security benefit if you're taking Social Security. But then, yes, you can make a withdrawal commensurate with that dollar amount every month or the annualized amount, and you get to reimburse yourself, no taxes.
And just to button this up on the HSA, if I'm not mistaken, you can also use those funds for dental bills as well.
Yes, dental, vision, even hearing aids, audiology visits, those things. The IRS at irs.gov does have a page dedicated to what's called qualified medical expenses. So if you are unsure, you can always look it up to make sure that you fall within the bounds, and you'll just want to keep receipts because although it's not required to submit with your taxes, if you're ever audited, you do want to be able to produce where the money went.
Does your HSA provider do any due diligence on what you're claiming in terms of deductions?
They do not. Well, some do. I'll take that back. If it's directly affiliated with an employer, I remember when Rob was with Aldi and we were actually submitting for some of his claims, they do want to see the receipts and they save them for you. But if you go directly to like an HSA bank, or if you are no longer affiliated with an employer and you don't have a specialized portal, then it does fall upon you to keep that, and you're allowed to take the money out. It's yours. It's just that you'll pay taxes on it if you're not taking it out for appropriate expenses.
A really fantastic saving tool that everyone should utilize. I think it'll certainly play a role in your retirement planning if you have one.
Oh, and quick follow-up on the HSA question.
And the follow-up is, if my employer contributes to the HSA, is that portion taxable to me at some point?
only if you don't use it for medical expenses. So every dollar that goes into that HSA is not taxable to you unless you pull it out for something that's not on that IRS list. So when you every dollar your employer puts in for you becomes your money. You can take it with you when you leave, so you can port that to another HSA account if you don't want to leave it where it is once you've retired, and you get to pull that money out whenever you'd like, and as long as it's for medical expenses, no taxes.
I think that if you're comfortable with having a high deductible medical plan, which with an HSA component to it, so that basically you can either offset your expenses, your deductibles, or you want to accumulate money for the long haul, or your employer is making a contribution basically to reduce your deductible for you, which is what this thing is.
Yeah,
it's there's nothing better. Literally, there's just nothing better for you because the money going in is income tax free
from your employer. Yeah,
exactly. It's growing income tax deferred, and then when you withdraw the money using it in the way it's meant to be done, it's tax free on the way out. There's nothing better than tax free in, tax free out. Period.
Right. There's literally nothing else that allows for that. So.
Exactly. Best thing you can do. So if
Very
you
cool.
if you can deal with a healthcare plan, go for it.
And FSAs are a little different, so this might add another layer for our texter, which is the FSAs they can be attached to. It doesn't have to be a high deductible plan. So a flexible spending account doesn't need to be paired with something that might create more out-of-pocket expenses for you potentially. So a high deductible plan is paired with a health savings account, which implies that you just need to be sure that you've done the math on what your average expenses have been in the past, just to be sure that you're feeling comfortable with potentially either higher copays or a higher deductible to meet, versus the flexible spending account can be paired with any type of medical plan. So that is a difference that you want to be sure of. It's not just comparing the one type of account to the other.
And get not too far into the weeds, but with a flexible spending account, the employer is creating, typically they'll say a limit.
Right.
That you can only put in up to X amount per year. Typically, most of them, they'll go more than $5,000, which if you're in a family situation, an FSA limit could be much higher than that.
Well, $5,000 on the FSA is pretty high.
Well, and then what would happen is that they're really creating what you would call a line of credit for you, because you're putting money in through your payroll contributions, but actually the money that you're electing is all there on the front end. So it's different. Whereas with an HSA, it's really you only can pull out what you've put in,
right,
as a maximum. So the plans are a little bit different. But again, I think what it comes down to is you don't have to lose it if you don't use it with an FSA.
HSA.
You still have the same. I can withdraw the money as soon as I put it in type of a deal available to you. But the ability to withdraw this later, when you frankly could want it, and you will want it, which is to reimburse yourself for your Medicare Part B premiums that are getting taken out of your Social Security benefits,
and
is not a bad deal.
Medicare Part B premiums are already up past $200. I mean, if for those workers that are in their early 50s now, if you stuff a good amount of money in there, who's to say what Part B premiums will be by the time you're ready to be on Medicare?
And, so just to give everyone an idea, the HSA contribution limits for this year, it's $4,400 if you're an individual under the age of 50, $5,400 if you're over the age of 50, so you get a $1,000 catch-up. $8,750 is for a family, and a family just requires two people. They don't both have to be on the plan. It's just that you both have to be, you have to have two people on the plan, meaning like husband and wife, parent and child, and you can put up to the $8,750. If both people are over 50, you get the $2,000 of catch-up, so that could be over $10,000 a year that you're putting in.
And both people are eligible, whoever's on the account, to use for qualified medical expenses.
Yes, and also the other cool thing, and that's where I got a little tripped up, is so let's say for like our texter, she has the opportunity to get into that HSA account, but her husband is on a plan that doesn't have an HSA. He can't make a contribution, nor can she make a contribution on his behalf, but she can use her HSA dollars for his medical expenses, because as long as they file a joint tax return.
Very nice.
Life is good.
Yep. Cool.
And our next comment says, Jeff is wrong about the lack of football this weekend. The Battlehawks have a playoff game downtown tomorrow. Go Hawks.
You didn't say the cacaw.
I don't know about cacaw, and I would have butchered that. So I didn't want to trample all over.
You're right. I should have said NFL football.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And our next texter writes, I just wanted to make a comment on the caller last week with his stock going parabolic. I hope he set trailing stops as he mentioned. Remember, escalator up, escalator down. Well, certainly after
Friday.
After Friday, that's certainly some very timely advice. We've seen a lot of issues become unmoored from their previous price and skyrocket higher, and that's a great thing. But no one ever went broke taking profit.
It's a good point. I always like to think about it as it's physics, right? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. We've had 9 straight weeks of positive returns in the market, so it's time for a little breather. And sometimes it can be a little violent.
And I would just to put a button on that, I mean, the news cycle has not been the best, and yet here we are. So, for the people that want to invest by the news cycle, just understand that the market can be a little bit irrational, and it can be a little bit divorced from the headlines that you see day to day. You may see a headline and go right to your favorite business channel and say, well, why isn't this being reflected today? Market doesn't care.
Right.
Until it does.
That's a good point.
Expectations.
That's right.
Everybody has them. And our next texter writes, how do you put an investment into SpaceX before it goes public?
So at the moment, there are only 2 ways that you could potentially get in before the IPO.
And we don't recommend either.
We're not recommending anything. This is just the mechanics. And this would be true of any privately held company. You have the opportunity, to either purchase, to either go through the secondary market and purchase private placement if you are qualified to do that. So you have to be what's called an accredited investor in order to use that route. There are some private equity funds that may have SpaceX or other privately held companies that you are able to purchase purchase shares of a fund that you don't necessarily have to be an accredited investor to have access to, or you just got to wait till the IPO and you purchase on IPO if you decide that's what you'd like to do. So there's really only 2 ways to get in before the IPO.
You also probably need to have a relationship with a broker that
absolutely
that has the ability to get at that IPO, because it typically, when they come out, and especially anything that's Elon
very
Musk,
popular,
right, it's going to go it's going to go up. They always do. The first day. Problem is.
Well,
the problem is the second day.
Well, 2 or 10 days from then, whatever.
Well, you just have to consider when you think of something going public, it's giving everyone that wasn't privately holding it access, but you're also giving the opportunity for everyone that was privately holding the shares liquidity to leave. So you have to make the decision, is this something that you want to get in on the very first day? Or is it something that if you truly believe that a company is going to do what it says and be remarkably profitable, then you'll have more opportunities to jump in. If we look at, we won't name specific companies, but the largest companies on our exchanges right now have had more than one buying opportunity for you to make very generous profits. So you didn't have to own them the day that they went public, like Meta. You didn't have to own it back when it went public as Facebook in order to have eventually at some point, if you bought at different times, be able to earn some return. So I say you don't have to be the first person on the bus.
And there is real excitement around Elon Musk and SpaceX because of, he's developed a bit of a cult following given some of his prior ventures. And, there is a large community of people who have made a lot of money with Tesla.
Sure.
So, obviously there's a lot of excitement behind his new venture, and we will keep a good eye on it as that story moves forward.
That's
and
right.
Our next texter writes, can an independent contract 99 employee contribute to an HSA?
If your health insurance, so if your medical plan is HSA compatible, and the way you find that out is you just give your insurer a call and ask them. If you didn't already see it on your card, sometimes the card might say with HSA on it. If it doesn't, you can always call your provider or your carrier and ask them. If you do have a plan that's HSA compatible, then yes, you can create an HSA account. A lot of times the insurance companies have an option for you to do so. Like, for example, United Healthcare uses Optum Bank to do their HSAs, so you could go directly through the insurance carrier, or there are many banks that offer HSAs that you can set up independent of the plan itself. You just have to be, one of the requirements to open the account is going to be to show your insurance, because you'll have to see that it's compatible, that it's HSA compatible. But you get the same deductions, and you also have the same contribution limits as someone that has access to an HSA directly through an employer. So.
I think with that, why don't we take break number 2 of the hour? We'll
Sounds
come back
good.
for your calls and your texts at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
At Midland, we know sometimes all it takes is a moment for an idea to spark, or to make it happen, a moment to find your dream, or build one, a moment to start your forever, or at least start planning for it. Whatever moments you have, Midland is here for them and can help you make them. Midland, brighter together. Visit us at midlandsb.com. Midland States Bank is member FDIC.
Don't miss summer. Start your next adventure at Byerly RV. All June long, you can save up to $500 on all in-stock RVs during our RV savings event. Plus, to celebrate National Go RVing Day, we're turning up the savings. Friday, June 12th and Saturday, June 13th only, you can save up to $5,000 on select RVs. Don't wait to start making memories. Your next adventure is just a drive away. Visit Byerly RV in Eureka, Missouri, or shop online at ByerlyRV.com.
Guys, let's be honest. If your energy is low, the weight keeps creeping up, your sleep is terrible, and you just don't feel like yourself anymore, it might be time to stop brushing it off as getting older. This June at Premier U, eligible new patients can receive their first month included when enrolling in a qualifying 6-month TRT, weight management, or wellness membership. Get the labs, get the answers, get back to feeling like you again. Book your consultation today at premierumed.com.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to the show. It's 9:49 here on Big 550. We've got about 10 minutes left. We do have a slightly confusing text.
And our texter writes, I just retired and received my first check, but they haven't withheld taxes. I called them and said they don't have to with that account number. What should I do?
So this is a good question, because I think it just gives us an opportunity to talk about what is taxable in terms of distributions and what is not. So if you are referring to Social Security, if you live in Missouri or Illinois, Social Security is taxable at the federal level. It is not taxable at the state level. You cannot elect a tax withholding while you are electing your Social Security benefit. That has to come after, either by paper or by logging back into your portal and requesting a tax withholding. It's okay if you miss one check withholding. Think about it. Even if your benefit's $4,000 a month, you missed out on maybe $400 to $800 worth of taxes. You can make that up throughout the course of the year. If you have a pension, in Missouri, pensions are taxed at the federal and at the state level, so you'll want to make sure that you're doing a withholding there. In Illinois, they are only taxed at the federal level, so you still want to do at least a federal withholding.
If it's from a Roth account, then the answer is there would be no withholding. There wouldn't necessarily have to be a withholding because Roth distributions are income tax-free both federally and state.
As long as you're over 59 and a half and
Yes.
the account was in existence for 5 years. So if it's coming from a Roth, maybe we don't need to withhold taxes because there are no taxes. If it's coming out of a traditional IRA account, in Missouri, it's taxed at the federal and at the state level, so you do want to withhold. In Illinois, it's still taxed at the federal level, so you'll want to withhold federal taxes. The last piece, and this one I left it for last because it's dicey, we'll say, which is distributions that come from an after-tax account. So it might be a trust, it might be a joint account, it might be an individually held account that has securities, savings, whatever the case may be, held inside. You're taking distributions from it. Most broker-dealers and banks do not withhold taxes from those distributions because they're variable. It's based on what was sold inside of or what came due, or what had a dividend and interest, so generated cash inside of that account, will determine your taxes on an annual basis, not on a per distribution basis. So generally taxes are not withheld, but you either want to have a conversation with your advisor about what your projected long-term capital gains, dividends, and interest will be from that account, or you want to just create a little escrow for yourself, setting some money aside because you know that there's the potential that you will have some tax liability for that after-tax account.
I think you put it very well. So the real answer is whoever they is. If they is the government or they is an employer.
They as a bank.
Right. They aren't required to withhold taxes. You are required to ask them to elect to have taxes withheld.
Right. So you just want to make right. And if it's an account that doesn't have taxes, that's different. You don't want to withhold from something that's not taxable. So you just want some clarity.
Very good. Good question.
And our next texter writes, I have family moving to Italy.
How cool is that?
They are making money on selling their home. How best to advise about investing those funds? Well, I mean, that kind of depends on, are they going to use a portion of those funds to purchase their new living space in Italy? What are their time horizons? What are their goals? What are their risk tolerances? Are there any other capital expenditures that we're going to have to take into account other than the new living expenses? There's kind of a lot of variables there.
I think you're making an excellent point, which is essentially that before we know how to invest proceeds, we really need a little bit more information on their overall situation, which is, what's their emergency funds look like? What does their just general savings look like? What do the rest of their investments look like?
Are they retired? How old are they?
What's their long-term goal? Yeah. And then I think that you have a good opportunity to put those proceeds for long-term, to work for long-term use, but we don't want to put the cart before the horse, as you like to say, Dad, which is, we don't want to invest before all of those other pieces are met. And we really don't know what to invest in until we know where we're going.
There are no meatballs in Italy.
That was what...
It's true.
They don't serve meatballs.
We were there.
That's true.
There are no meatballs in Italy.
So do you got to have steak with your...
No, they don't know how to make beef either. Don't even go there. And pizza is American.
Well, see, I heard that the what I took away from our trip to Italy is the way that you stay thin is that you only eat lasagna on the weekends. There's that.
Don't they also do the thing where they have dinner at like 3:00 in the afternoon?
No.
Or they have
Italians eat really late at night. Europeans tend to eat way later in the evening. It's more of an experience, not a thing to check the box, which might be why they're headed off to somewhere like beautiful Italy.
For some reason, I thought they were engaged in the siestas, but that could be someone else.
They actually do that during the middle of the day. Also.
Siesta? That's Spain.
Also, they do that also in Italy.
Oh.
You don't remember.
Sounds nice.
You're a little too young, but you don't remember.
I mean,
cool.
I was quite young.
And our next texter writes, Good morning. My younger brother manages the buses at the school district. His retirement is in the Peers program, which I believe is similar to the teacher's retirement plan. Do you work with these type of plans often in your business? Thank you.
We love the peers system. It's great for our teachers here in Missouri. We work with quite a few individuals that have been apart either long-term, their entire career, or just a short portion of their working career using the peers system. The thing that I really appreciate about the teacher's pension is that few things. One, the Biden administration got rid of the windfall, so now everyone that did earn Social Security credits, you're actually not going to have any exclusions based on your peers' pension, so you get to collect both Social Security and your peers' pension, however you choose to elect it. Second, peers is one of the only pension systems that allows you to customize your pension amount and also create a lump sum for yourself. So many private companies that offer pensions may offer a lump sum option, but it's usually all or nothing, either all pension or all lump sum. You have to make a choice at retirement what you want to do. The peer system will let you do that, all pension, also all lump sum, or they'll let you do many options in between. So we find it to be not only very flexible, but usually we see that those pension benefits are quite substantial for our teachers, which is great. So, yes, the short answer to that question is yes.
Absolutely. And if you're nearing retirement and you're part of the peers program and you'd like a coaching session, by all means, give our office a call, 314-863-0008, and talk with Kelly. She's going to send you out a questionnaire, pretty basic. You're going to fill that out. It's going to be some other documents we ask you to bring along. We have the best tasting coffee in all of Olivet. Sit down, come in, get it all
come in first and then sit down, right?
Absolutely.
You'll have fun. We certainly do.
Yeah, of course we do. Do you have any other text questions on that?
And we have one more. It says, good morning, guys. Are your personal retirement accounts invested the same way your clients are? Great question.
That compliance would not permit us really to answer that question. No.
Yes is the answer. Yes, we are invested the same way that our clients are invested.
Now we're in trouble.
Oh.
Are we in trouble?
Guess we'll find out.
I guess we'll find out.
So if this show is not put on the website, you can't listen to it later, it's all because of you, that question.
It's okay. The answer is yes.
Yeah. We can't say how we invest, but
that's how we watch your money every day to keep you on track.
And also, if it's good enough for us, it should certainly be good enough for you.
Yeah,
and vice versa.
We had this discussion at the office before we came on the air. It's, your trainer is telling you to do the best workout ever, and you say, "Well, I'm sorry.
Have you tried this?
Are you doing
routine?
this? Are you doing this workout?" And he says, "No." It's like, well, if it's the best workout ever, and you're asking me to do it. Like, why aren't you? If the results speak for themselves.
If the results speak for themselves.
I mean, maybe it's just East Coast Rob, showing up, but it's like if it's the greatest thing ever, then you should be partaking in it, no?
Well, I think that was, right. Really that was a very good question on a couple levels, but primarily if our job is to attempt to find the best investment alternatives for our clients and then helping them obviously create models meeting the risk tolerance to do that. It would certainly make sense that we would want to take advantage of what we create.
Absolutely.
Right. And at the same time, then what it also does for us is that if we are making changes, we're able to do that uniformly with clients doing the same time. And so I think that that's something that we have found has been valuable, and that's actually the first time somebody's asked us in 20 years. So
we're invested the exact same way.
We won't get in trouble again, right?
Well, if we are, we're in for a penny, in for a pound at this point.
Exactly. So again, that's nice. And so really during coaching sessions, what we're then talking about is, a couple things. Number one is we're talking with folks to say, okay, how do we help them determine the cash flow they need so they can do all the things they want to do, continue their lifestyle? What we're then also doing is we're finding out where they are in terms of their investment options. Where's their risk tolerance? And then obviously what we come back with is building a portfolio for them that matches and that can deliver the type of returns they need so that what they can then do is maintain the lifestyle that they have.
That's right.
So it's kind of fun. I mean, it's fun. It's free. They do them in our offices here in.
We do them at our offices.
We certainly do in Olivet. It's great. So, again, don't touch that dial. We'll be back for hour 2 right at these messages.
Mizzou football.
The rushing touchdown, and Missouri extends the lead.
KTRS AM, FM 106.1, K291CW St. Louis.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Sievertson. Pope Leo being welcomed in Madrid, where 2 million people are expected to come see him and hear him. Traveling with the Pope is ABC's Marcus Moore.
We know that the Pope is expected to make numerous appearances, including speaking to Spain's parliament next week. But there are also some sensitive meetings that will take place. A private meeting between Pope Leo and some survivors of sex abuse, as well as a meeting with migrant families. People who have risked their lives and safety for a better life.
People in St. Petersburg were told not to leave their homes after a large-scale Ukrainian drone attack targeted Russia's second-largest city today. In the 2-month-long U.S.-Iran ceasefire, Bahrain's government saying Iran fired missiles and drones towards it in Kuwait today. Foreign Ministry says all were shot down. Graham Plattner, oyster farmer and retired Marine, the front-runner ahead of Maine's Democratic primary for U.S. Senate Tuesday, has women claiming they were physically abused by him during their relationships. ABC's Selena Wang.
The New York Times reporting several of Plattner's ex-girlfriends described, quote, unsettling behavior. One reportedly claiming Plattner regularly grabbed her by the shoulders, sometimes hard enough to leave marks, and on one occasion yanked her out of a cab by her wrist. Democrats here in Maine divided.
I feel like his political mission is sincere. And that's what I'm voting for.
I will never vote for Graham Plattner.
Plattner fiercely denies any violence.
The New York Knicks beat the San Antonio Spurs by a single point last night, Game 2 of the finals, 105-104. Victor Wembanyama's final shot with the ball missed.
I threw that one away. I messed up. We needed to win that game. This game was ours.
Game 3 Monday night in New York. The Knicks lead the series 2-0. You're listening to ABC News.
My doctor told me my cholesterol is borderline, so I took control with Garlic Healthy Cholesterol Formula. Garlic helps maintain healthy cholesterol safely and naturally. It's odor and taste-free, and Garlic is a world leader in garlic potency. I'm taking charge of my cholesterol with Garlic Healthy Cholesterol Formula, cholesterol's natural enemy.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed.
From the FIFA World Cup to competitive business environments, grand ambitions lead to game-changing achievements. At Bank of America, we're there to support businesses at every step, providing insights and expertise to help you gain an edge.
He shoots, he scores!
What would you like the power to do? Explore winning business solutions at BofA.com/gamechangers. Bank of America, official bank of the FIFA World Cup 2026.
Some changes have been made to how the Pentagon categorizes religions in the armed services, scaling down the list from 200 to 31. ABC News senior Pentagon reporter Louis Martinez.
What we did see is a consolidation of a lot of Christian denominations into maybe more than 20 on the 31 that are now on this approved religious codes list. You see agnostics, you see Buddhists, Hindus, Islam, Judaism, Sikh, 20 or so Christian denominations that are integrated into this group.
Israeli troops killed a 7-month-old Palestinian boy after firing at his parents' car in the occupied West Bank, says the Palestinian Health Ministry. The parents were wounded. The Israeli military says soldiers shot at a vehicle that looked like it was speeding toward them. It says an initial inquiry found that the wounded were uninvolved civilians, and they're looking into it. The question here is, can a slowdown allow what's necessary to control a technology? ABC's Mike Dubusky.
Researchers at the artificial intelligence company Anthropic are calling for a coordinated slowdown or pause of AI advancement. In a post on the company's blog, Anthropic says a pause would stop AI technology from running out of control.
Can pandas do what shows of military force haven't? Can they ease tensions between two places? A pair of red pandas arrived at Taiwan's Taipei City Zoo today from China's Shanghai Zoo. The first zoo exchanges between Taiwan and China in over a decade. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
A small business affirmation from Progressive.
Bakery owners, you will be loved today. Every pastry will be flaky. Your cake will make a child's day. Your delivery van won't get sideswiped by a distracted garbage truck driver. But if so, breathe easy, knowing you'll get back to business quickly with Progressive protecting your commercial auto. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
The views and opinions expressed in the following paid program are those of the host, callers, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of this station, its management, or owners.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to hour number 2.
Smart choices about your health care.
That's right.
Because you care. We talk Medicare. But before we get to our Medicare segment, we've got a couple of texts that came through we want to get to. And our first texter writes, my wife has been a teacher for 30 years. She's going to go to 32 years before she retires. Can she pull full Social Security or 50% of my Social Security? Thanks.
Yes. As long as so if your wife had enough credits outside of the Pierce pension system, if that's the system that she's currently using, then yes, she would be able to pull her full benefit. If 50% of your benefit is larger than her full benefit, you probably want to take the 50% benefit. Granted, we need to keep in mind age, meaning that everything is going to be discounted or increased based on when your wife's full retirement age is. Also, in order for her to be able to elect the 50% of your benefit, you'll need to be taking your Social Security benefit.
Can't take the 50% if you haven't elected yet.
That's exactly right. So the short answer to the question is yes to both, but there's a little bit of nuance there, so you'll want to either sit down with someone or do the numbers to determine what the best outcome is for your family.
Absolutely. And our next texter, right, earlier in the show, I heard you mention United Healthcare offering an HSA. If I am on an Advantage United Healthcare plan, can I open an HSA that offers the same benefits as my employer insurance HSA plan? Thanks.
No, unfortunately not. Once you join Medicare, so electing, and this is a great reason why turning 65 when you are still working and electing Medicare immediately is a mistake.
If you do that, you can't contribute to an HSA anymore.
That's right. If you elect your Medicare Part A benefit, that's all it takes. You don't even need Medicare Part B in this example. You are no longer eligible to contribute to an HSA. Even if your employer-based plan is HSA compatible, you will knock yourself out of the contribution requirements because Medicare is not considered a high deductible plan, so when you elect Part A, that disqualifies you from contributions. If you are already on Medicare, unfortunately, the state no longer offers what's called an MSA, which is a medical savings account. It was specifically designed for Medicare enrollees. Some states still offer it. I know New York State still does, but Missouri no longer has carriers. They were here for a little bit of time. It was called Lasso, and it did create something similar to an HSA, but for Medicare enrollees. But at this point, unfortunately, nothing is available. If you already have an HSA, you're able to use the funds inside of it to pay Medicare premiums like we talked about, but you're not able to contribute any longer.
I think I've heard you say that if you're going to continue to work, there's literally no upside to electing, assuming that you're on your company employer plan and they have more than 20 employees, that there's literally no upside to electing Medicare.
It's rare. We're obviously more than happy to do the math for everyone that wants to take a look at what your options are, but we find in most cases that employer-based plans are less expensive for you in terms of premium, only because you're being partially subsidized by your employer because they're helping to contribute to the premium, whereas with Medicare it's going to be your full responsibility. Now, a lot of people think, well, if I take that Medicare Part A benefit, it's going to help me when I go to the hospital. Most likely not, because the way that your coverage is going to work is your employer's coverage is going to remain primary. So let's say you're admitted to the hospital. When you get the claim is first going to go to your employer's plan, so whatever coverage you have through work, they're going to pay whatever your plan says that they will pay. If they have paid 80% of the actuarial value of the claim, which the insurance company determines, and then Medicare looks at and says, okay, we see this claim, and we see that your previous insurer paid 80%. Medicare's not paying anything.
So Medicare turns around and says, our work here is done. You've already been paid out.
That's exactly right. And why am I using 80%? Because Medicare is an 80-20 policy. Medicare pays 80%, you're responsible for 20%. They don't care how the 80% got paid, either by them, by someone else, by you, like either by the insurer or by yourself. But once that 80% is met,
they're off the hook.
Right. Now, if it was 78%, they'll come in and pick up 2%, but you still have liability. So why limit yourself in terms of HSA options while you're still working? Why elect Medicare if, you're not going to see much benefit out of it? There is no penalty when you lose coverage at work, because you'll have a special election through the loss of coverage. And the even better thing is that Medicare is the only type of insurance that allows for voluntary disenrollment from a plan as a qualifying event, which means you decide when you retire, hopefully. You decide when you leave the plan, and as long as you're over 65, that loss of coverage is enough to qualify you for Medicare. No penalty because you had coverage. As long as you enroll in a timely manner, your coverage will start the midnight after your old coverage ends. So no need to pile more coverage on top, especially if it's really not being added on top, it's being added at the bottom.
And it's really easy to see how someone might think, well, if I have 2 layers of protection here, that it would be beneficial, but it just doesn't work out that way.
Yes, and many people were able to live through having 2 coverages really working that way. If we look back even 15, 20 years ago, if you and your husband or you and your spouse were working and you covered each other on each other's health insurance plans, which in a lot of cases didn't cost very much at all, you might have ended up with no or very little bills when they finally got to you, because, it ran through your coverage, then it ran through your spouse's coverage, and then you received maybe a few dollars to pay. But unfortunately, that's just not how Medicare works.
All right. Should we talk about our subject? Yeah, let's. So I had a quick conversation with a client of ours on a Plan G Medigap plan. And Charles called and he said, Rob, what dental and vision services are provided under my Medigap plan? Do I have any benefits for these services in my plan?
Okay, so Charles, you said?
Mm-hmm.
He has a Medigap or
got a Plan G.
Supplemental plan?
He does.
All right, Plan G.
Let's take a step back. Let's talk a little bit about Medigap plans. Medigap plans are designed to fill the gaps that original Medicare Part A, and Part B don't cover. So Part A, we like to think of it as, where is your body at? It's at the hospital. It's at hospice. You're in rehab. Part B covers everything else. Part A and B cover that 80% we were previously talking about.
Exactly. So it's our responsibility to fill that 20% hole.
Your 20% is potentially unlimited. That's where the supplement policy comes in to fill the 20% that Part A and Part B don't cover. What is not included in a Medigap plan? Standard dental care, and that would include everything from your cleanings, your exams, crowns, bridges, etc.
So literally any dental is not covered.
Not preventative, not comprehensive.
Fair enough.
Vision, vision is not going to be included, and that would include your glasses, your contact lenses, your frames, and your exams.
So we would generally call that preventative, right? Because we're only talking about those exams that you normally have, and then your eyewear, be it glasses or contacts. However, things that you do that are medically related to your eyes, that falls under the medical, right?
Correct. So going back to Charles' questions, what will this cover in terms of dental and or vision? The short answer is nothing, except for those that are deemed medically necessary.
So let's talk about what that really means on let's talk about on the vision side, because that's really easy. The way that I like to say this is anything that You're not going to the Galleria, to lens crafters, to have cataract surgery, to have
cornea replacement.
Cornea replacement, that's a great one. Any type of issues with your lens, that's usually cataract. Anything medically related to your eyes is done by a doctor that falls under the medical. So we just want to separate those two out. The one other on the vision side is if you're a diabetic, because that a known issue for diabetics is vision loss. They're going to help cover your glasses as durable medical equipment because you have a known condition. So there are some exceptions that will assist you here, but in general, when we think of vision coverage, there's not any.
Correct. And, just segueing over to, what that looks like on the dental side. So, for instance, you broke your jaw and in an accident, and maybe you had some dental work that was required in addition to, that's obviously going to be covered because that was a medical event, not necessarily a dental event.
Right. The issue didn't arise from your teeth. It just incorporated them, so to speak.
Okay. You need to have a tooth extraction because you're undergoing some radiation treatment for cancer.
Okay, so like they need to put the radiation dots in your jaw. Your tooth is in the way. They're going to extract that. They'll cover the extraction under medical. Exactly.
So the medical variable comes first. That's what's getting you the underlining dental or vision treatment in these examples. Another one, expanding that out to hearing, if you had vertigo, dizziness, rapid hearing loss, obviously that would be covered. If you needed an ocular implant.
You go into an audiologist, all of those pieces, they're not to do with hearing loss on the
we'll call it on the supplemental side.
Okay.
Because this is medically these are medical necessities at that point.
Sure. And so I would also just point out, especially when we're on the dental side, because we have smart listeners, so I'm sure they're thinking things about, hey, how can we get this dental covered? Unfortunately, like Rob, you gave the example of radiation. They need to perform radiation. Your tooth is in the way. The extraction is covered. If you underwent chemotherapy, maybe 2 decades ago, and a byproduct of that is you now have like tooth loss or weak gums, that is some of the known side effects from older chemotherapy drugs, that's not going to be covered, unfortunately. So the issue has to arise from something that is medically related, almost in the moment. A broken jaw, we have to fix your teeth now. I need to get past your tooth to do this radiation, not something medical happened and there is a byproduct for a dental issue. Unfortunately, they're not going to cover those things.
The medical rationale needs to be the trigger, is how we need to look at this. Because without that trigger, then we're into this is elective and we're not going to cover it because Medigap plans do not cover vision, dental, or hearing.
And I think that is the best way to think about these policies. There are some exceptions to the rule that are going to be there to help you, but in general, if you're thinking about traditional dental coverage, traditional vision coverage, most people don't have traditional hearing coverage, but as we know it, meaning audiology visits and, not cochlear implants, but you need a hearing aid. None of those things are covered. So if you're someone utilizing a Medigap policy and you are in need of or wanting those extra benefits, we're going to have to piece them together on top of what you already have. Or there's another alternative, right?
There is, and it's called Medicare Advantage. And if you've only ever been on a supplement plan and you've heard about all these great supplemental benefits that aren't offered by your supplemental insurance, you are given what's called a free look, so you can come over and see what's going on the Advantage side of Medicare. And if for any reason or for no reason, let me say that again, for any reason or for no reason, you can go back within that first year, no questions asked, no medical underwriting. So if you haven't availed yourself of a Medicare Advantage plan and you'd like to take a look at some of these extra benefits, or if these extra benefits are important to you, I would...
Or if you're starting to pay a lot more for these extra benefits and you haven't really done a comprehensive review of what you're truly paying for your health care, because, about almost 15 years ago now, Dad, when I joined you, he's back in the studio, everyone, just being quiet, we did a full review of all of our financial clients. That's really where I started working with people, supplement versus Medicare Advantage plan. And when we sat down and really totaled what their expenses are, because most people don't think about the extra dental coverage as the premium that they're paying for health insurance, the extra vision, what are you paying on those policies for the benefits themselves, your gym membership, all of these pieces, when we put them together, that really makes up your medical expenses. If we can reduce those for you substantially and not change your benefits in terms of what you're receiving, just how you're receiving them, then maybe it's a nice opportunity for you to have a review of what you're truly spending, because over time we all collect things in different parts of our lives, and many people tend to collect insurance. I had the basics when I started. I had the Medigap policy in my prescription drug plan. Then I realized I really wanted some dental, so I added that. And somebody told me about this vision plan they really liked, and so I added that. And then I also heard about this hospital indemnity thing where they'll pay you to go to the hospital, so I added that too. And now you've got a stable of things that you think of as your comprehensive medical. Well, why don't we take a look and see, one, is it truly comprehensive? And then second, do we really need all of the things that we're paying for?
Is there an all-in-one solution?
Or is there an alternative?
That's how
exactly.
That's how I like to think of it as an Advantage plan. And our texter writes, if I choose an Advantage plan and a couple of years later would like to return to a supplement plan with pre-existing conditions, what are my options? At that point, you'd probably have to go through some medical underwriting to come back.
That's right. So like you pointed out, you do have a 1-year free look to determine if you like it.
Right. For no reason or for any reason, you can come back to your old supplement plan, no questions asked, no medical underwriting.
So that means you have pre-existing conditions. The insurance company won't look at those because there's no medical underwriting. You're just going to sign the application that says you agree to pay the premium at the stated amount. They will give you the coverage. That's within the first year. If you exceed the first year, you will have to go through medical underwriting. Now, you said pre-existing conditions. That is a little too broad for us to say what the options are. However, you're not locked out of the supplemental option of Medicare. You can apply to any insurance company and say, I want to come back. They're going to write your physicians, take a look at your medical record. And this is not a straight yes or no. Like with a life insurance, they may look at your medical record and say, we'll offer you coverage, but it's going to be a little more expensive because of X, Y, and Z. Or they may say, I'm sorry, no, we're not going to offer you coverage. You have the opportunity to go to other insurance carriers if you'd like. If you're working with an agent, so if you're working with someone like Frank or Rob in our office, they're going to be able to look at your questionnaire, have a conversation with you about your pre-existing conditions, and they will be able to help direct you to the best insurance company, because different companies have different underwriting standards. So that's part of our responsibility to say, where's our best opportunity to get you back into the supplement that you're looking for. Now, if you can't get back in, you're not locked out of health insurance forever. You just are using Medicare Advantage plans. And every year during annual enrollment, you get to choose a new Medicare Advantage plan. So if the reason that you wanted to go back to the supplement was because the original Medicare Advantage plan you picked you didn't love anymore, let's just find you a different Medicare Advantage plan. There are quite a few of them. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure we could help you find one that'll fit your needs.
You'd be surprised how many times I hear that people really believe that if I choose the wrong Advantage plan, like I'm stuck forever.
For life?
Exactly.
Nope, the plans change every year. You change every year. So the government, through Medicare, gave you the opportunity to say, I want to switch plans. And you can do that October 15th through December 7th every year. They also have an additional enrollment period, January 1st through March 31st, if you're already on Medicare Advantage. So you have a couple opportunities to make changes.
Almost 6 months of the year if you added them both up.
That's right. And even better still is Medicare offers quite a few enrollment periods for Medicare Advantage plans. The FEMA disaster is going on
all the way to the end of this month, June 29th. We're under a FEMA disaster designation that is allowing people to
make changes
to their plans outside of the designated enrollment periods.
So at its core, Medicare is a government program, so it's complicated and sometimes cumbersome. However, it is a government program, so there are additional protections built in for you as a Medicare enrollee, and that doesn't matter if you've taken a supplement or a Medicare Advantage plan. The government sees you as a Medicare enrollee. So they tend to side with you over the insurance companies, which means if you're having difficulty, not just on your supplement or if on a Medicare Advantage plan, you should go back to the agent that sold you the policy and ask for some assistance in terms of getting claims covered for you or working through any issues that you might have, because I like to say that in most cases there are solutions. Maybe they're not our favorite solution, but you're not stuck with the worst case scenario. So
it never hurts to take a good pair of eyes and put them on all these plans during open enrollment. If you're on a supplement plan, certainly if you're on an Advantage plan, it never hurts to know exactly what your options are. Not to say that everyone will make a switch, but for those that could be interested in a switch, there are certain points of the year where you definitely want to sit down with someone and put some eyes on these plans.
And why don't we take our first break of this hour? When we come back, we'll be here to continue to answer your questions at 314-931-5877 or 84126 on the text line. We will be right back.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to the second half of Hour 2 of Straight Talk on Retirement. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach.
And I'm Robert Markham, your life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist.
And we are willing, waiting, and wanting to answer your questions at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. And while things are a little quiet right now, there's a topic that I feel like is very important that I'd like to introduce today. But I also want to make a comment about a discussion we had in the last hour.
Let's go.
And so we let the secret out about our clients in investing.
Well, not really. Let's not take it too far.
Well, and again, fortunately, we haven't had any follow-up questions on where, because we can't answer that. We're not permitted to by the SEC to talk about where we actually invest money. But what I would tell you is that we work with LPL Financial, which is the largest independent broker-dealer on the planet. And they aren't owned by, affiliated with any insurance company, mutual fund company, etc. So they have no proprietary products, which we like.
Right. So this is all a long way to say there are no incentives for us.
Well, that's the other thing, right? We receive no incentives from anybody. And if occasionally when somebody wants to buy us lunch, we have to disclose that too, because
that's right.
In a highly regulated industry. So we like that. We like being independent, independence of thought, independence of product.
Independence of options.
Exactly. Life is good. I've been seeing a lot of information. I might even, truthfully, I call it disinformation, flowing over the internet in regard to the 4% rule. Is the 4% rule dead? Does it really work? And so I thought what would be nice is for us to take just a few minutes, talk about the 4% rule, what it really is. And frankly, we talk a lot about 4% withdrawals. And what I'd like to do is really put our 4%, we'll call it the JBL 4% model, into perspective for you.
Well, first, before we get there, what article, are you reading articles saying the 4% rule is dead because it should be higher? Or are you reading, because
some weeks, yes, other weeks,
it's
no.
the reverse, right? Which is, I think, something kind of Rob points out, if you made your decisions based on the news cycle, you'd be erratic.
Right.
if you made your retirement plan cash flow decisions based on these articles that are coming out,
you would be schizophrenic.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean,
so I was going to say, so let's get into what the 4% rule really is.
Okay.
It was an economic model that was created to measure withdrawal rates over long periods of time using various investment mixes.
It also is adjusted for inflation, right?
Exactly. So the idea is that you start with 4% withdrawal. You adjust that each year for the rate of inflation. Okay? And you do that, and obviously your withdrawal could and would change over a period of time. It's never going to be stable because the market doesn't always go up, and inflation doesn't always go up. It's not linear.
Right.
That's a nice way of putting it. So, that really comes into what I would call some of the flaws in the model, because we know inflation is not linear. It changes every year, and we know we just had recently went through a period of almost 10 years where we had zero inflation.
And then we went through 5 years of 40%.
Made up for the 10 years.
Hyperinflation. And some anecdotal information here based upon being in practice and working with retirees' money for the last 25 years. People do not want to adjust their portfolio withdrawals, their income, in down years.
Right. When the market, so if you were truly following the tenets of the model, the market goes up, you can take more. But when the market goes down, you will be taking less. People do not want to take the less.
Right. And
also, you don't live your life that way now. If you're currently working, you're making an income. That's what you build your life off of. You're not building your life off of what is the stock market doing today.
Right. So in this model, what happened is that when we talk about measuring over long periods of time, they took various investment models, stock to bond combination.
So like 20% equities all the way up to 100% equities,
right,
that kind of thing.
And they compared what would the performance of those models be using a 4% withdrawal rate with inflation over 20, 25, 30-year periods of time.
Okay.
At the end, what was developed was I'll call it is, what is the probability of you going broke?
Right. The end result is...
That's really what it was. That's really what it was, which was, will your capital last as long as you want to? And I can tell you that people do not want to plan to run out of money. They just don't.
Well, I mean...
They say, well, I don't mind if I die broke, but the truth is we don't know when you're going to die, and we also know that nobody really wants to be broke, period. So...
Also, imagine,
right.
I mean, if you're a retiree now, or you're someone that just happens to be watching your portfolio on a regular basis, when you see, even though you have gains, like I even find myself looking at my own portfolio, you have seen gains for the year, but when you look at that total number and you see it decreased a little bit, you're like, man, I'm less rich than I was just yesterday. Nothing happened.
Nothing materially changed between
So
yesterday.
think of psychologically, you're watching your portfolio dwindle over years. You're no longer going to be having a comfortable retirement.
What I would tell you is that the essence of this,
mm-hmm.
and something that I decided to make my mantra, if you want, say 25 years ago, and fortunately I can say that after 25 years, I have anecdotal experience and I can rely on this, is that it isn't what you pull. Clients want to know, how much can I pull?
Right.
And they say, well, the 4% rule, well, you can pull 4%, et cetera. That's not really what this is about. What it's about is making sure that we're not pulling more than 4%.
But that
what that's doing is that's matching the hole that's created between your income need and your fixed sources of income.
Right.
It isn't what you can pull, it's what do you need to pull.
Right. So we think of the 4% rule as the maximum threshold. Our goal is that we're not going above 4%. But if your income need is only 2.5%, there is no need to take the other 1.5% unless you need it.
Right. And so what happened was when they ran these models, and by the way, they exist. You can ask people for.
They're called Monte Carlo simulations.
Exactly. What was found out was very simple. If you had less than a 60% exposure to stocks in your portfolio,
mm-hmm.
or more than 80, you had a higher probability of going broke.
So that's interesting because basically what that's telling us is taking
too little, too much.
Taking all the chips to the casino is risky, not in the same way, but it has the same amount of risk as not taking enough to the casino.
So there's a sweet spot.
Right. In theory, it's between 60 and 70%. And so what happens is that sweet spot created a 95% chance of not going broke.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to be honest with you, that wasn't really good enough for me.
Not good enough for you.
No, I'm looking at clients every day. I know that I'm thinking I'm going to be sitting with them for 20, 30 years from now.
You're going to run the whole experience is the goal. So,
and we're not going broke.
We don't want to end up in that 5%.
Right. They don't want to go broke. We don't want them to go broke. As I like to say, we don't have room in our basement for you. We're going to make sure that you're able to keep your money. So what we've done basically is in our modeling, we don't take into account inflation.
Right.
And I'll tell you why. Because you don't need to.
Now?
Yes. What I have found is that when we match our client's withdrawal rate.
So you mean income need?
Well, withdrawal amount to their income need.
Right.
Being the same thing. They never ask for a raise because what we're doing is we're duplicating
their lifestyle
as it is right now.
And of course, emergencies will come up.
Right.
Unplanned vacations that cost more than the average will come up.
Their last car.
We'll
Things will come up, but in general, if we're creating the base of our ongoing income need, and Dad will talk a little bit about how is it possible that they are not in need of more money when we've all seen what's happening at the grocery store, what's happening. We talked about car prices.
At the gas station.
At the gas station, all this.
Because prices don't go up linear all at the same time.
Everything doesn't go up at the same time.
When some things go up, some things go down. People also make conscious exchanges and not conscious exchanges.
Right, you go to the grocery store.
And we're not talking about, I like Coke, but I'm now going to start buying Mr. Fizz. I mean, it isn't like that, okay, where we're buying the generic alternative, etc. People make choices. The other thing is that I have found is that there is a fluff factor in our planning, which is the cost of going to work. We don't quantify that, but we know it costs money to go to work.
Right.
Whether it's clothes, whether it's donations you're making, whether it's lunches out, whether it's gas, whatever it is.
Clothes, all kinds of things.
That's right. So we don't put a number to that.
Mm-hmm.
What we also do is we also make an internal assumption that all of our clients have a 20% income tax rate, 15% federal, 5 state.
That's generally almost 5% high.
Exactly.
3 to 5% high.
If your gross income, all sources, is under $120,000 a year, you're at a 15% effective rate. If you're lower than that, you're in a less than a 50% effective rate. So we've got some margin there. So people make their own choices. We know there's some fluff in there. And the other thing is that as their portfolio grows over time, which it typically does over any measured 25-year period, if you stay invested, et cetera,
right,
that additional capital
that you're generating,
reinvested, creates security. It creates safety, number one. Number two is, and maybe this is the most important one, on average, when our clients get to approximately age 77, some is a little younger, some is older, their spending starts to slow. They don't eat as much. They don't go out as much. They can't. Maybe they're not as healthy as they used to. They don't want to travel like they used to. They have grandchildren. They have great-grandchildren, whatever it would be.
Or they've already done a lot of that big travel that they had planned.
Their spending just goes down.
So even if that number starts to incrementally rise, we know that there is a point in which we'll see not a drop-off, but a gradual pullback of spending.
Exactly. And in most cases, do we then cut back our clients' cash flow? No. What happens? They're enhancing their after-tax savings in many cases. What they're then doing, or they're making gifts, or they're doing things like that. But They don't need the money.
Let's just, for a quick second, I wanted to tie this text question in because it seems like the perfect opportunity.
Okay. And our texter writes, guess the 4% rule does not apply to those who have to take RMDs, and those are required minimum distributions. Do you think they will ever rescind the RMD rule since we are living longer? I would say no.
You're more generous than me. I was going to say absolutely never.
Never.
However,
they want the tax money. That's the whole
point.
But
however, they have made they've made 4 adjustments to the RMD requirements in the last 5 years.
Based on age.
Right. 70.5 was the original, went to 72, now it's 73. In fact, if you were born after January 1st, 1960, yours is going to be 75. So that's when you're going to have to start taking. So they are starting to adjust for living longer. My thought will be the next adjustment they make is probably to the table itself, those actuarial values. So maybe we'll start out at 4%, rise less rapidly, that kind of thing. But we have seen adjustments.
Well, and what's also interesting is that most of our clients do need some level of income from their retirement assets to maintain their lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
They're staying prudently, using no more than a 4% withdrawal rate based upon their assets that they gave us
to manage.
Exactly. So what happens is that 4% that they're pulling also can be used to satisfy the required minimum distributions
when they get there.
When they get to 73. And what we're finding is, Aaron, disagree with me, but if you want to, but what happens here is that most of our clients now have more, so we have to give them excess distributions. They actually have to pull out more than they're pulling. And they don't need the money.
So in a lot of cases, we're really
reinvesting that money. So what's happened is that clients that started with us in their early or mid-late 60s, gone all the way to 72, 73, 7, 8 years, they don't need all the money. So, but their cash flow that we're giving them is maintaining the lifestyle that they want.
Right. So we're either we're able to, and really that at 73, we're just shy of 4%. So in a lot of cases, our clients are already either hitting that number, but we also have to take into consideration that required minimum distributions are only based on pre-tax IRA accounts, 401k, pre-tax 401k. So most likely, as you are aging, if you are someone that was pulling about 4%, but then you find that you do not need the excess, as you are reinvesting that money and not spending it, or you're putting into a savings account even, you're only pulling 4% of the IRA assets. That doesn't mean you're necessarily pulling 4% of your liquid net worth. So we do have to refactor that in, knowing that in a lot of cases, at least at this point, we're seeing that the majority of people's assets are held inside of retirement accounts, but that starts to change a little bit as time goes on.
And the only point I would make here is that, like Jeff said before, his earlier point was we're already, in many cases, sending people distributions from their retirement accounts to make their lives work. By the time they get to RMD eligibility, they get this letter saying, oh, you have to take out this amount. It doesn't say, hey, we noticed that you're already taking out X amount of dollars. So when they get that letter, it almost seems as though if you just read it in quickly or in a vacuum, that
above and beyond, you got to pull this money.
Exactly, and it creates a certain level of anxiety and aggravation where, they don't know your specific. They just have to send that letter out like, hey, we've done our job to let you know you have to do this. But in many cases, our clients are already meeting those obligations just by living their life.
Okay, and so kind of backtracking a little bit here. We know that, we do not need to adjust their income for inflation. Yeah. We just don't need to do it because we know the choices people are making. But in many cases, we do create what we like to call a personal pension for clients that either don't have one or would feel more comfortable in having more of a stable pension-like income.
And really the purpose of this is to reduce worries about instability of income because it's coming from a variable source, meaning your investments in a vault, and potentially, obviously prior to yesterday, not as many concerns about a volatile market. People aren't as concerned about volatility to the upside, but volatility to the downside can create some concerns. So there are options available to people privately that would like to take some of that risk off the table.
Well, obviously, if we're able to create a pension plan for them, which is going to satisfy either 50%, 100%, 25% of that need, what we're also doing is lowering the probability of them going broke. And that's really what the big deal is. We want to do that. And it just, at this point, as a planning paradigm, when we focus on spending, not income,
right,
the numbers only lower, but they're easier.
Also, it's more realistic.
What I find, so let's talk about. Let's do a quick example with Joe and Sally.
Why don't we take our last break of the hour, and then we can take a full as much time as we like with Joe and Sally. So
don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more of Joe and Sally and our stories right after these brief messages.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Welcome back. It's 10:46 here on the Big 550 KTRS. It's funny. We were just talking about exchanges, so I'm going to share.
This is such a joke to me. Go ahead.
I know you think it's a joke, but it just isn't. I mean, people think this way. I mean, some people think this way. Some people like your father think this way. Okay. So, as a way to deal with my type 2 diabetes, and not as well as I should be, but I try to do this, is I've switched over to zero sugar stuff.
Tastes pretty good, doesn't it?
Well, it does. To me, the Powerade is like, it tastes great. And I usually buy it at the grocery. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it used to be $1 for a 20 ounce. Now it's $1.50 every other week. When it's $1.50, I just want to take one and start throwing it at the wall because it's like, there's no way I'm paying $1.50 for this. When I only paid $1 2 days ago for it. Mm-hmm. So I back up the truck. So I was out with your mom the other day. We were going to visit the new Deerbergs down at...
It is beautiful.
It is a gorgeous store.
We're not even paid for this advertisement. It is a nice store. Beautiful store.
So I was in there, and they had, this big
display.
Huge display. Cases. It's $1. I'm like, this is it, man. So I bought like a dozen.
A dozen cases?
No, a dozen bottles. I should have bought like a dozen cases, but I bought a dozen bottles. So it was $12, whatever.
So you refuse to pay.
This is on Thursday.
Right.
Okay. Friday, I take your grandma back because she wants to see the store, et cetera, et cetera,
okay.
with your mother. That's just
it's a thing. All right.
It's too Jewish. It's just a nightmare. Okay. so anyways,
there's a lot of great kosher stuff at that.
The huge kosher sections. They raised the price to $1.50, and I was just like berserk. I mean, just like, there's no way I'm not buying this. I don't care. And your mom looks at me like, you can, of course I can afford it, but I don't. But it's the principle of
$12 for the 12 bottles, $18 for the 12 bottles would have been a bridge too far.
Exactly. No, 50 cents for one bottle was a bridge too far. It's sort of like it's like 12 can soda. These cases these mini cases they sell you. We're up to almost like $8. I mean, are you kidding me? No way.
Interesting.
Not doing it.
And that is a small...
Coke is actually a little stingier than Pepsi is. Supply and demand.
Supply and demand. Well, I mean, and I think that's, although it's funny, it is a small example of how many of us make choices throughout not just the day, but throughout our lives, especially when we are seeing prices go up pretty rapidly. The example I like to use is after COVID, haven't gone out to eat nearly as much. And that's something that happened 5 years ago, and it still really haven't changed our habits around it. So,
well, I just felt like the service just kind of fell off, and it never got back to those pre-COVID levels. So, these kind of decisions are, the 50 cents on the Gatorade, going out to eat. These are the kind of decisions that people are making when, the inflation bug really bites. Like, no, I'm not actually going to do that. So I think there's a lot of credibility to what Jeff says, because these are the choices that consumers are having to make every single day.
Well, cool. So let's go back to talk about Joe and Sally. So we visited with them, and typical client, their current spending is running about $8,000 per month after tax. That's how much cash they need. 20% tax bracket. Their pre-income need is $9,600, or approximately $115,000 per year. Between the two of them, their Social Security benefits are running about $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year. So they're short about $55,000. We divide that by 4%. So the milk money, the capital that they need,
$1.38 million
over the long haul to generate this income throw is $1.38 million. But they got other stuff.
They always do. And
a new car, they're being cheap, so they're going $50,000 instead of $52,000. They have some home improvements. They want to redo the cabinets in the kitchen, $50,000. They've got some children that are grandchildren in parochial schools. They want to help their kids out, $60,000. So the total of all these other things are approximately $160,000. They also think that their vault, their savings, is a little bit light. So they'd like to have another $50,000 in their vault, liquid cash available. So total, they really want $1.38 million of assets. They need that. They also need an additional $200,000, which basically part of it they're going to save, but the rest of it they're going to consume. So if they had $1.6 million or more, they're rock stars, right?
Absolutely.
And if they don't, then they're not rock stars. Well, naturally they're rock stars because we told the example about them, right? They had about $2 million of assets, free and clear, life is good. So what happened was that they had the capital needed to create the income flow that they want. And I can just tell you that if they're just like most of our clients, once we start that basically that $4,500 a month to them, they'll never ask for a raise. They never do. And that's great. So if their capital continues to grow, wonderful. They'll have more for consumption, whatever it would be. But alternatively, when it goes down,
would it be
we're not going to change their withdrawal rate.
Would it be fair to say that the 4% rule is not only not dead, but will be with us for the foreseeable future? And what, if anything, could derail the 4% rule? Because obviously inflation is not going to be that, not going to be the killer.
The only thing that would derail anyone's 4% rule is their investment mix. They have to put themselves in a position
to earn 8.
To earn 8, which basically is between 60 and 70% equity. So we know if you're able to do that, we'll be able to generate the income for you over a long period of time. You'll get the money that you need. It'll continue to grow. And then when Uncle Sam makes you take it, you won't have to worry about it. And you'll have enough money to pass on, we think, to the people that you love, and you're not going to go broke. And that's a big deal.
It sounds like the two sides of this coin are being allocated correctly and having a handle on your spending.
Absolutely. And it all starts with spending.
We have, our text question got a little jumbled, but I think I have a good gist of it. You're going to love this one, Dan.
Beautiful, babe. Go.
Which is, we have a texter who retired from a local brewery in about 2010 with just over $1 million in his 401k. And as he looked at his last monthly statement, it reflects that he is just shy of $2 million.
Congratulations.
Beautiful.
Right? He's going to be 70 in August. So if he's wanting, and he is asking, he'd like to pull a little bit more money out because the majority of this is dedicated to paying for college for their only grandchild. And that day has come because she'll be leaving for college in August. So he wants to know if he's pulling more money out to send the grandbabe to college, is it better to do it in a monthly amount or is it better to do it in one lump sum?
Well, I would say that because college tends to go over an entire year, and if you're in a position where you can pull some of it this tax year and some of it next tax year, what will happen is you'll moderate your tax bracket. So the answer is I would do it that way.
So it's less about taking on a monthly basis and more, it's really on an annual basis. You want to look at, I guess the fall semester you're going to have to pay for sometime before she gets there in August. So that portion. Now the next semester you might be able to pull that money out January 1 for the next semester. Or if you have enough in your savings, you could use the savings and then refill it in the next year, because that way you'll be able to at least moderate your tax bracket. But it sounds like this could be a 4-year endeavor, so you might want to just over the course of the next 4 years play the brackets a little bit, bearing in mind that the next 2 years you have a little extra tax breaks available through the big beautiful bill, so you might have a little more room these next 2 years, pull a little extra. 2 more years you might be banking a little bit to pull. And then also, just because college lasts 4 years, or maybe a graduate school will be longer, you can always refill your bucket later, meaning if you have enough in the savings account, you can always take the 5th and 6th year to refill your savings back to where you're comfortable.
And I think certainly you would want to consider that, honey, based upon, A, how much the tuition is.
Right.
And number 2 is how the withdrawals are going to affect you possibly with IRMA.
That's also a good point.
Is that really what's going to happen? So it may be that we're forced to take some retirement plan withdrawals and then after-tax withdrawals, and then, as you said, eventually fill the after-tax bucket back up.
Right.
It's interesting because with clients, I would tell you, we have those that give us the privilege of being their investment advisors.
Mm-hmm.
We're investing money for them. We have their money. But it's theirs. They can always get at it. All they do is pick up the phone, etc. So it isn't like it has to be in their bank that it's theirs.
Right. Right. A lot of people do, especially our power savers, so to speak, they think of the money in their retirement accounts as non-touchable, right? Because that's how they thought about it for 40 years while they were working. So sometimes it gets a little bit difficult to flip the mindset, which is you have access to this when you need it versus this is literally off limits.
Exactly. We can always send it to you.
Yeah, sir.
Have we taken our...
We've taken all of our breaks.
Beautiful.
We're good. So we've got a couple more minutes before the end of the show.
And we just had a text come through, and our next texter writes, as a general principle, is it more advisable to take Social Security as soon as you're able to, or let the benefit grow till 70? A lot of that depends on you, sir. I mean, do you have longevity issues in your family?
Are you still working?
How old are you when you're talking about it? We're talking about 62 as compared to 66 or 67. Are you working? Are you going to continue to work? Do you want to shoot yourself in the foot by continuing to work if you're earning more than $22,000 or $23,000?
If you're not going to work and say you're taking distributions from your retirement account, do you feel more comfortable doing that and letting your Social Security benefit grow, or would you rather take the pressure off your investments and take the money from the government?
Are you looking to build the benefit for a spouse, potentially? I think we missed a text question, a follow-up text question, which was if my wife has only been a teacher for her whole career and is in peers, will she be eligible for 50% of my Social Security benefit when I retire and start taking Social Security? Yes. That's a
newbie.
That is one of the really amazing things that the Trump administration did. The Biden administration did on their way out the door, was alleviating the windfall, which alleviates the exclusion, and that alleviates the exclusion across the board. So on your own benefit if you're the teacher, or on your spouse's benefit if your spouse worked outside of the peer system, you now have access to the spousal benefit, even if you did not contribute to Social Security on your own, which is just like everyone else that didn't have access to a peers plan. They had access to a spousal benefit. That's how Social Security was originally designed.
Honey, I would say to our texter who asked about Social Security, if you're single and you're not going to be working pre-full retirement age, take. If you're ill, longevity issues, take. That's it. Otherwise, I really is going to depend on, are you going to work? Are you not going to work? Is your spouse going to work, etc.? So do us a favor. Don't touch that dial. We'll be back for more Straight Talk on Retirement next week here on the Big 550 KTRS. See ya.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Be listening next week at 9 for more Straight Talk on Retirement with your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus, on the Big 550 KTRS.